In these gender support plans, she ranks parents whether on how affirming they are on a scale of 0 to 10.
Wow. So social credit system for parents to determine if they're adherent to the cult of leftism.
Who determines that? Based on what criteria? I pay her taxes. I have every right to speak about her in particular.
Dude, look at this degenerate woman's face. Like, she can't cope with reality. She's looking down on him. She thinks that she's better than him while being delusional. This is the architecture of degenerate femininity. They think they should not be held accountable to reality because reality is oppression, reality is masculine, reality is orderly. Her psyche's broken, and it's been reshapen in the image of a degenerate ideology called leftism. That's what you're seeing here.
Can I continue?
Try to keep it professional.
I've already told you what.
Bro, he is being so professional. You're the one being not professional. Again, the degenerate feminine psyche inverts reality. Women should not be in leadership positions at all for this reason.
I'm doing, and I'm making.
The Bible says it. It's written everywhere. You know, all of human history proves it. You're seeing in front of you why women should not be leaders. And of course, California is failing, and all the most competent men are leaving California to go create revolutionary industry in other states that are not placating to this degenerate, broken, low verbal IQ, brain fog.
And the student about how we keep you safe at home, emotionally and physically. Who's personal? Who's professional? Personally, I'm being professional. What she has done and the policies you have, none of you have spoken out against, is a complete deviation from that sacred boundary between government and personal lives and privacy. Especially of minors. And we're talking about
The left is purely evil. They're completely corrupt. They invert reality. They're narcissistic. What you're seeing there with that woman smirking and scoffing at being held accountable is utter narcissism. The left induces psychopathy into people by making them believe that they're above reality and therefore the consequences that come from reality.
All boys aren't blue. And I will quote from it. I pulled out of him and kissed him while he masturbated. He asked me to turn over while he slipped a condom on himself. This was my ass. He got on top and slowly inserted himself into me. It was the worst pain I think I have ever felt in my life. Eventually, I felt a mix of pleasure with the pain. Close quote. All boys aren't blue. The second is another much discussed book. I'm sure you're familiar with it. It's called Genderqueer. Okay. I got a new strap-on harness today. I can't wait to put it on you. It will fit my favorite dildo perfectly.
This delusional, incompetent, failed woman is just the tip of the iceberg in California's failed leadership. This guy destroys her. Check this out.
Previous speakers have mentioned the number of Armenians who live in Glendale. How many Armenians would support what she does? Let me discuss what she's doing.
So this dad is talking about a policy a woman's putting in place.
In a recent video in 2017, she reflected...
Notice how professional, calm, put together, logical, rational, and concise what he's saying is.
...unified policy when she stated, and I'm going to quote, a lot of resistance from male coaches.
You're about to see that she can't stand this. She can't handle it. The fact that he's quoting. She considers him quoting a woman to be personal attacks. This is crazy.
Who are horrified at the thought of having a biological girl changing clothes in front of them. Which biological girls are changing clothes in front of coaches in Glendale Unified? That's a question I'm genuinely asking. She continued, it's not a girl. It's not a girl. It's not a girl.
So he's quoting a woman's delusion. Obviously, that female's enraged that people are using objective parameters, referencing objective reality, saying this is a biological girl. We're not going to placate to the delusion of your radical left-wing ideology that wants to make the world in the image of your resentful victimhood-based hierarchies and counterfeit virtue systems, and of course, making the world in the image of degenerate, incompetent, and femininity. But ironically, what you're about to see is the embodiment of degenerate, low IQ, feminine incompetence, proving why California is failed.
You only have boys in the boys' locker room. She just said it was a biological girl.
May I just start
I'm
for a
speaking
moment?
now. You're not. No, I'm speaking. This is interrupting my time.
Well, we can pause the
please?
time. Can you pause
Degenerate
the time
woman trying to interrupt
for a
him.
minute? I only want to say that to refrain from personal attacks. So please.
She is a government official.
He's quoting her. That's not a personal attack. The degenerate female psyche that is utterly obliterated by the left's position just said that quoting the idiocy of a woman is a personal attack, quoting her own words. Because to them, it's not her own words. It's a total reframing. It's stating her words in contrast to objective reality. And that's oppression. That's untenable. This is what you're seeing here. You're seeing on full display that the radical left-wing degenerate feminine personality considers reality and the accountability that stems from reality to be untenable oppression.
She's a government employee. This is not a personal attack. I pay her salary.
So look at this woman struggling to cope with the fact that what she said made no sense just now. And he's like, I have provided zero personal attacks. I literally said I am quoting her. These are her words. Delusion. What you're seeing here is delusion. The fact that this person can sit on a board and make any decisions about even the most mundane thing is absurd, given that there's no auditory comprehension going on.
Not a personal attack. I pay her salary with my tax dollars.
Again,
the reference to objective reality is enraging to her, and rather than admit that she's wrong, she tries to femininely double down on her anti-reality statement.
please talk towards the policies that you
I'm
are
talking about-
against
and
and refrain from personal attacks.
This is so degenerately feminine, because first of all, he should be able to say, I don't like this person if he wants to say that, but that's not even what he's saying. He's, again, just quoting statements that she made. So, again, what she's enraged with is the fact that that is being measured against objective reality, and the result of that is her looking delusional, and of course, then everyone getting to see the fraudulence and the incoherence and the mass delusion that is representative of the degenerate feminine psyche.
And your time will continue. Please go ahead.
In what way have I personally attacked
So he continues to obliterate her here.
Dr. King? She is acting within her official role as assistant superintendent at Glendale Unified. How is that a personal attack? I'm talking about tax dollars being used in a way that I disagree with. I'm going to continue.
So he owns her here. Just completely owns her. But I'm willing to bet that her degenerate feminine personality can't stand getting owned. Just like she's enraged with objective reality holding the words of that other colleague of hers accountable, she's enraged with him holding her accountable because it's oppression. Reality's oppression, and it's especially oppression when masculinity is doing it.
Continue talking about the policy that you disagree with.
Dr. King quoted to say that biological girls were changing in front of male coaches. And then, so she knows it's a biological girl, and then proceeded to say it's not a girl 3 times. You know it's a girl. You know it's a girl. Or
Okay,
you know
so
it's a
she's
boy,
an
you know it's a
employee of
boy.
ours, and if you wouldn't mind telling us what policy you dislike.
He's literally telling her he doesn't like the fact that there are delusional women saying that boys are girls.
There is why am I being interrupted for speaking about an official member, a superintendent at Glendale Unified,
So he owns her again. Stop interrupting me, dumb idiot. Like,
speaking in an official manner? You cannot interrupt me for that. You have no ability to do that. And furthermore, the rules stated you won't debate. You're debating me right now.
again, he owns her, eviscerates her.
Correct? I'm going to continue. In discussing permanent records, she states that she keeps permanent records for a handful of trans students literally next to her in her room. She does not indicate that person's gender identity for fear that the parent...
So what he's doing right now is he's exposing for all to see, literally all to see. This video has 1.2 million views in the last 10 hours. And so he's exposing the absolute ideological possession, the insanity that is going on with the left, and that's what they're enraged by. But see, they don't realize that this is going to get 1 million views in 10 hours. They're just enraged with the fact that like 20 people are hearing it right now. So think of how infuriated they'd be knowing that they're being held accountable to this level.
Doubt. Why is she concealing this from parents? She says, we kind of go out on a limb, and we know that's controversial to some people. Which people? Which parents? Armenian parents? Christian parents? Are those the ones who are being excluded from knowledge on their own children and their own identity in Glendale's Unified School District?
Of course, because that's exactly in keeping with the leftist ideology.
And you
that the school and the government owns the kids and not the parents.
Preach.
And of course that you can indoctrinate children with anti-reality ideology.
You preach inclusive policies. We can talk about that policy. Yet she's...
I just owned the left for this yesterday. Yeah, they're not inclusive. They're not compassionate. They're not empathetic. They're the opposite of those things.
Excluding parents.
So
She's
again,
excluding parents. I'm going to continue.
And I might just ask for a pause and ask for information. Maybe I'm mistaken. Can you pause the time for a moment, Mr. Sahakyan?
Dude, what you're seeing here is literally incompetent female degeneracy on display. This is the reason why women don't lead societies. It's such a crazy dichotomy. It's like total incompetence versus just average citizen. The average citizen male is so much more competent than this leadership of this feminine leadership because she can't stand reality. She's literally at a disadvantage to reality itself. She can't cope. It's hilarious.
Thanks. So I wouldn't mind getting input in terms of is this?
She's trying to debate this guy. This is crazy.
My understanding, again, is that we are
another degenerate woman talking. Let's hear this.
The arbiters of policy. That is our decision. And so our employees are operating based off of our direction and the direction up here at the dais. So it is appropriate to criticize the policy. It is appropriate to question that. It is not appropriate to...
He literally is doing that. Dude, this is so incompetent. This is just anti-reality mental disability is what this is. But of course, this is just women. This is just women not being able to cope with reality. This is the reason why all matriarchs have been conquered and eviscerated and erased from the history books, because they just fail. They're not competitive. This guy is talking about reality, and these women can't handle it.
Personally attacked and denigrate a specific employee. I do not
attack and denigrate by quoting her. Oh my gosh, reality is denigrating. Being held accountable to a leftist is considered denigrating to them.
I believe that is covered under the public comment.
I'm not personally attacking
yes,
anybody.
You are, sir.
No.
What? Dude, it's all on camera. Are they not aware that this is videotaped? See, the thing is they're fine with lying. They didn't realize that this was being videotaped, because if they were, they wouldn't act this way. There's no... I can't believe that if they knew that this would be on the internet with 1 million views, that they would say things like this. They're perfectly comfortable to lie, to say the opposite of reality. Just like a psychopath, the only thing that they fear is being held accountable.
No, ma'am. I am not. I am not personally attacking her. I disagree with what she said in her role as assistant superintendent.
He's literally trying to placate children. This is like he's trying to talk to juveniles here. It's like, no, you're actually objectively wrong given the objective words that I've said.
I disagree with the policy, so please continue with the disagreement of the policy.
I am disagreeing with her, and this is not... You are debating me right now. You said you would not debate me. Why are you debating me?
So
he owns her again on every level.
Using that particular thing inappropriately, the fact that we don't debate. So
I am not attacking her personally. This is under her official role as assistant superintendent at Glendale Unified. You are not allowing me to speak freely in a government entity about a government employee.
There it is.
I pay her taxes. I have every right to speak about her in particular.
Dude, look at this degenerate woman's face. Like, she can't cope with reality. She's looking down on him. She thinks that she's better than him while being delusional. This is the architecture of degenerate femininity. They think they should not be held accountable to reality because reality is oppression, reality is masculine, reality is orderly. Her psyche's broken, and it's been reshapen in the image of a degenerate ideology called leftism. That's what you're seeing here.
Within her role. I'm not talking about where she lives, what she looks like, anything like that. Nothing personal. This is purely professional, and this is purely governmental. Can I continue?
Try to keep it professional.
I've already told you what...
Bro, he is being so professional. You're the one being not professional. Again, the degenerate feminine psyche inverts reality. Women should not be in leadership positions at all for this reason.
I'm doing, and I'm making...
The Bible says it. It's written everywhere. You know, all of human history proves it. You're seeing in front of you why women should not be leaders. And of course, California is failing, and all the most competent men are leaving California to go create revolutionary industry in other states that are not placating to this degenerate, broken, low verbal IQ brain fog that is clearly platformed out of only resentment. Because the only way people platform incompetence like what you're seeing with these women is by resenting reality.
That very clear, and I'm not going to change.
Keep it professional.
I have not.
So he says, I'm not going to change. Then she says, keep it professional. And then he says again, I'm just owning her. Yeah, I'm not changing.
I have only kept this professional. You were debating me, and you were violating your own rules.
So, Mr. Sahakian, go ahead and open the time again.
Thank you so much. Dr. Kelly King has worked with gender...
So he just literally continues to own them. Oh, it's so beautiful.
Spectrum, an organization which you guys have actually paid money to in several schools. If that's not a conflict of interest, I don't know what is. She's worked with gender...
Wow, this is insane corruption
Spectrum
that he's like revealing.
Produce gender support plans. In these gender support plans, she ranks parents whether on how affirming they are on a scale of 0 to 10.
Wow. So social credit system for parents to determine if they're adherent to the cult of leftism.
Who determines that? Based on what criteria? I'd love to know that policy.
Right, well, that is asking, again, the relationship to objective reality that their incoherent ideology has, and so it's therefore enraging to them.
She says, if the parent's not affirming, The parent may not be involved in this document. That's the gender support plan. This may be a private conversation. So let's talk personal now, because she is. This may be a private conversation between that trusted
Wow,
adult
so again, you see the left inverting reality, right?
at the school. Is that adult trusted by the parent? Who is the trusted adult? Define trust, please. This may be a private conversation between that trusted adult at the school.
Right, exactly. But trust to them, it just means adherence to the ideology mindlessly. There's no individual identity to a person that is a part of the left-wing cult. There is no necessity to engage in reason or logic or rationality because everything's already been sacrificed on the altar of wokeism to these people.
And the student about how we keep you safe at home, emotionally and physically. Who's personal? Who's professional? Personally, I'm being professional. What she has done and the
Wow, owns them.
policies none of you
Wow.
have spoken out against
Wow.
is a complete deviation from that
Right.
sacred boundary between government and personal lives and privacy.
Wow.
Especially of minors. And we're talking about
The
sexual.
left is purely evil. They're completely corrupt. They invert reality. They're narcissistic. What you're seeing there with that woman smirking and scoffing at being held accountable is utter narcissism. The left induces psychopathy into people by making them believe that they're above reality and therefore the consequences that come from reality.
Sexuality, sexual
Like being
identity,
confronted with logic.
and you're
And
not
reason.
going to divulge that to parents intentionally.
And make no mistake about it, they're inducing that.
And again, she makes over $250,000 a year.
Of
Wow.
course, of course she does. They're trying to reward the antithesis of competence.
43%, only 43% of Glendale Unified High Schoolers are proficient in math upon graduation. Only 65% are proficient in reading. And you pay that much money to institute those policies while you're literally failing to produce
Okay.
the adequate students
Being
for
held
the
accountable.
21st century.
It's beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Getting owned and destroyed. That was great.
I confess I'm a little confused.
Oh wait, they're before Congress. What's going on?
And I appreciate the argument or discussion that we've been having, but for me, it's a little too conceptual or, I don't know, metaphysical or theological or whatever you want to call it. I want to try to understand what you're asking us to do. Let's take two books that have been much discussed. The first one is called All Boys Aren't Blue, and I will quote from it. I put some lube on and got him on his knees, and I began to slide into him from behind.
Oh my gosh.
I pulled out of him and kissed him while he masturbated. He asked me to turn over while he slipped a condom on himself.
Yeah, the left is evil, guys. It is good versus evil, and any person that doesn't understand that and is vocal in the battle against evil is evil themselves. We've never seen this probably it's going on 1 century where it's been total evil versus total good. Maybe even not even a century if you really think about it. But at this point it is. We have the degenerate, low IQ, psychopathic, narcissistic, anti-reality tyrants that are trying to destroy civilization against the ultra-competent, masculine leadership that reflects reality by using logic, reason, rationality, and adopting, of course, all mechanisms that stem from objective reality. We're battling people who are gleeful in their resentment and rejection of order, reality, coherence, morality, and they try to do damage to all of those things. So this is the essence of the battle that we're fighting here.
This was my ass, and I was struggling to imagine someone inside me. He got on top and slowly inserted himself into me. It was the worst pain I think I have ever felt in my life. Eventually, I felt a mix of pleasure with the pain. Close quote. All Boys Aren't Blue. The second is another much discussed book. I'm sure you're familiar with it. It's called Genderqueer. Okay? Let me read an excerpt from that. I got a new...
This is the same thing as going to like a Holocaust museum. It's important to listen and understand the level of their depravity and their evil, so that you understand the people that we're dealing with. We're not dealing with people who care about policies or politics. We're dealing with broken, totally ravaged humans that are evil.
Strap on harness today. I can't wait to put it on you. It will fit my favorite dildo perfectly. You're going to look so hot. I can't wait to have your cock in my mouth. I'm going to give you the blowjob of your life. Then I want you inside of me.
Dude, this is literally Congress. You understand this? You're being held accountable. This is the reason why they're enraged. When their depravity, when their immorality gets put on display for all to see, what you're seeing is not just that they're, broken, wretched beings. You're seeing that the ideology that made them that way is fraudulent. And there's nothing that enrages them like being seen as fraudulent because they can't argue their way out of it. As I said earlier, they've rejected the individual identity. They've rejected reason, rationality, logic already. So they can't contend with this. And it is only in the image of broken, degenerate femininity that this disconnection with reality is even possible. This is the reason why the left-wing ideology preys on women, especially single women who are high in trait neuroticism, which is a psychological term. It's objectively measured. Proclivity to abide in left-wing authoritarian regimes is positively correlated with a feminine personality distribution.
Now, Mr. Secretary, what are you asking us to do? Are you suggesting that only librarians should decide whether the two books that I just referenced?
Oh, it's a great question, because the question is essentially, to what standard are we going to say that these books are permissible or untenable?
Should be available to kids? Is that what you're saying?
No.
Okay. Tell me what you're saying.
Well, first of all, there's this...
Don't give me a speech. Tell me what you're asking me to do.
With all due respect, Senator, the words you spoke are disturbing, especially coming out of your mouth is very disturbing. But I would also tell you that we're not advocating for kids to read porn, to Senator Booker's point.
What are you advocating for?
We are advocating for parents,
Here it is.
parents, not to have the ability, under the guise of keeping kids safe, to try and challenge the world view of every single manner on these issues.
You're getting...
Wow. Right. Parents don't have the right to control what their children are told. This is the tyranny of the left. They want to own your children, just like they say in the World Economic Forum, you should own nothing and be happy. As far as they're concerned, just like there's no such thing as an individual, understand they try to erode every aspect of human civilization. Individual identity, reason, rationality, objective morality, but also the relationship you have with your kids, which is the most sacred thing. This is the reason why what they're doing is definitionally evil, because that is in line with the satanic agenda. So, inverting truth, saying parents... they try to break up family. They try to make women resent men using feminism because they inject the resentment of Marxism into feminism to make women not only despise signs of masculinity, but despise signs of reality itself, as masculinity is an apparatus for objective reality. So they try to obliterate human life on every level, and that's what you're seeing from the left here. And they have to admit it when they're confronted for their degeneracy.
Conceptual game.
I'm not getting conceptual.
Well,
I'm saying that...
Yes, you are. Because I want to know what you're recommending. It sounds to me like what some of you are saying, the librarians should decide who gets to see that book.
I'm saying when individual parents are allowed to make a decision of where that line is, and To Kill a Mockingbird, which involves...
Whoa, where that line is? We just heard where that line is.
Rape scenes, should that book be pulled from our libraries? I think it becomes a...
Yes, at a certain age, of course. You think like a 6-year-old should be read To Kill a Mockingbird? What? Come on.
Well, I think you ought to think about it a little
So the literal answer to his question is yes, there are lines that should not be crossed.
bit more before you come here.
I've thought about,
if
Senator...
you're going to propose something, you ought to be able, in 30 seconds, to be able to explain what
Senator,
you're asking us to do.
Senator,
Ms. Kelly, what do you understand? Well, let me skip you for a second. Mr. Cameron, tell me what you're proposing.
It's pronounced mix.
Mix? Is that how would you like me to refer to you?
Senator, your definition of sexual is...
Oh, here we go.
...synonymous with LGBTQ identity.
I'm not asking you that. I'm asking you to tell me you read those...
Oh my gosh. Okay, so here we see the fully manifested degeneracy of the leftist ideology on full display.
2 excerpts.
Genderqueer...
Do you think that... Are you asking...
It sounds like, he's just trying to insert woke mind virus terms in the middle of coherent questions.
Only librarians and not parents have any say in whether minors can read those books. Is that what you're saying?
Genderqueer has never been in my school library, so it's never been banned.
Well, suppose it was. Should it be up just to the librarian, or should parents have a say?
So what he just said is genderqueer is the same thing as those excerpts that he just read from, which should be an admission in and of itself that they admit to being on the side of evil.
There should be facilitation of collaboration between students,
parents have
and
a say?
educators. Parents should be working with students and educators to be
Okay.
making decisions, because students
All right.
are
And who
these-
decides ultimately? The librarian, or do you take a vote, or who takes the vote?
Good question. Good question.
book review committees in the community in my school district.
The community. We just heard earlier what that community is. Broken, resentful, anti-reality, neurotic women.
You want a committee? How do we decide whether the two books that I just referenced should be available in the library? What would you, if you were running things, what would you do?
All Boys Aren't Blue, the scene you mentioned, is about sexual abuse.
I know what it's about.
It's not
What would
erotic.
you do in terms of making
It
the
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Any person that reads that to a child of mine will be executed.
books available? Would you say anybody can see them, or they have to be in a special session?
Students who do not read books like All Boys Aren't Blue cannot learn what is appropriate.
I understand that.
They cannot learn.
I understand, but none of
What did he just say? What did this creature say?
Or they have to be in a special session?
Students who do not read books like All Boys Aren't Blue cannot learn what is appropriate.
I understand that.
They cannot
I
learn.
Students that don't read books like the one you just read from cannot learn what is appropriate? Is that what this creature said?
Read books like All Boys Aren't Blue cannot learn what is appropriate.
I understand that.
They cannot learn.
I understand, but none of
about
This is the reason why we have to enforce order, because the warfare is on order and reality itself, guys. I'm not speaking hyperbolically here. I'm making literal statements about reality at this point. The left's opponent is truth itself, is coherence itself. And as such, they are evil and they must be held accountable like a psychopath. Psychopaths don't have morality in the same way that this leftist doesn't have his intellect. The only way you hold a psychopath accountable is by enforcing consequences, because a psychopath is only afraid for themselves. They don't feel for other people. Leftists only fear for order. They can't use their intellect to make the world livable and coherent. This is the reason why we have to make the world ordered in order to hold these anti-reality, anti-order people accountable.
You want to answer my question. You come here and you say censorship is bad, and of course it's bad.
No, leftists don't believe censorship is bad because they campaign on it and they promise it on national television like The View.
But the obvious response is, okay, you heard the books we're talking about.
When Conlon went on The View, they were essentially complaining about how men get to talk on the internet, and it's really annoying.
Okay, we're not talking about Catcher in the Rye. So tell me what you want, who gets to decide. And all I've heard is the librarians. And parents have nothing to do with it.
So obviously he's not going to get an answer from these people. Well, again, what he's doing is the same thing as what that guy did. Putting on display for all to see the greater infestation of the mind virus that robs people of their ability to think and interface with reality, so that we all get to judge them as fraudulent and therefore remove them and break the psychopathic hold that the left has on civilization. Not necessarily even on those people. Those people can fall and go to the wayside, but at least we're exposing them as frauds. And so people are afraid, just like the psychopath is afraid of going to jail but doesn't feel for other people. The psychopaths are afraid of the objective consequences and accountability, which is being seen as a fraud. So this is very important. That's why this is so important. Because it's not like the progress is made by convincing these broken humans that they're wrong. The progress is made by, again, revealing them as frauds and lunatics and evil people.
And if that's your response, what planet did you just parachute in from?
Parents, Senator.
Or what country, more appropriately? This is not China.
To read
Mr.
books.
Secretary, I understand this is good for your politics back home.
It's got nothing to do with
but
my
I'm not-
politics. My bill
of
is
course
passed.
It does.
My
It
bill is
has
passed.
everything to do with your
I'm here-
politics.
I'm here to-
But you came here with a problem, and I'm trying to understand the solution, and you don't have one.
We solved the solution. We solved the solution in
other than to
Illinois.
tell us that we don't agree with you, you're on the wrong. We'll be on the wrong side of history.
We solved the problem in Illinois.
Yeah, well, the left inverts reality. So obviously they are on the wrong side of history, considering they're pro-censorship, pro-depravity, they hate reality, morality, etc., logic, reason, objectivism, morality, masculinity, and they invert reality. So they say the people that embody objectivism and coherence and morality, logic, reason, rationality, masculinity are on the wrong side of history. But that's because, as you saw right here, they are visibly broken and deformed, as well as cognitively ravaged. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. This is a very important video because I think what you're seeing proven here concisely is that the rejection of objective reality that the left orchestrates is facilitated heavily by feminine personalities, and that's undeniable, that's unquestionable at this point. So again, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys in the next video.